Hey, I'm Jason Grubb, a 3-time CrossFit Games champion who started at age 38 with no athletic background. In my 20s and 30s, I just lived a pretty normal, average life. Had a couple of kids and was always worried that I was going to end up being fat when I grew up. As I got into my 30s, I started to see that happening in my body. I didn't get really, really big, but I just was losing that battle. When I was 38, my son Henry had just been born, and my sister-in-law, over dinner, she invited me to her CrossFit gym. She's like, Jason, you would love this. You would absolutely love CrossFit. And my thought was, like I don't want to go to a CrossFit class. One, I don't know what CrossFit is. Two, I don't want to go and just be embarrassed. Like, I do not like being in situations where I don't know what I'm doing. So I agreed finally, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. There was like 3 people in the class, and we did something that involved handstands. And I was a gymnast when I was like in 7th, 8th, 9th grade. I did gymnastics, so I could still randomly kick up to a handstand as a 38-year-old. I just could kind of do it. And they were amazed by that. They were really excited that I could do a handstand. I was like, okay, I kind of like this. You know, we do handstands and stuff. I remember doing handstands, and I jumped in immediately. Whenever I jump into something, I sort of go all in on it. And after that one class, I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. One of the things I liked about CrossFit when I first started was just this idea that there was almost this little bit of competition in the class every day. I have competition baked into my DNA, so I just wanted to be better than the guys in my class. And I did discover around that time that there was a Division 4 Masters Athletes at the CrossFit Games. Like, the thought that I could go do that was just huge. So I thought, yeah, let me just train as hard as I can and see if I can't try to make it to the games. And so what I did when I was 39, turning 40 and 41, is I trained like crazy and went through the open, went through the age group qualifier, and missed by a mile. The next year, as 41, I'm like, I still got a chance. I'm still young in my division, and I missed. I missed by 30 spots. At that point, I signed up for a master's program. I started following master's level games training. The open comes around, and I did well through the open and got to our age group qualifier, and I qualified. When I went in 2018, my goal was to not be last. So that year, I ended up getting 4th. Not making the podium that year lit a huge fire for me. I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, I'm good enough to maybe do something here. So I just trained consistently and had a significant reframe in my mind about who I was. Like, I wasn't just training for the games. I'm a games athlete. When the following year came, I just wanted to get on the podium. If I could just stand on that podium one time in my life, that would be amazing. But on the last day, I had a slight lead going into that day, and I did really well in all those workouts. I beat all the guys I needed to beat, and ended up winning by like 110 points. It was a big, big win, and I was ecstatic. So when it came to 2020, I wanted to go back and prove that I could do this again. And COVID hit, so we didn't have the games in 2020. Okay, reset, go back to 2021. Again, the same goal, if I could just get to the games. Let's see how that goes. And that year, this was last year, I had a lot of confidence going in, and I won. And I was excited that I won. I expected to win. Coming into this year, 2022, I still felt like a CrossFit Games champion, but I really wanted to be on that podium or win again. And this year was a heck of a battle, like every year, heck of a battle. And thankfully, I ended up on top again. So how do I find that balance as a master's athlete doing all of this? I find myself struggling to find balance. I don't do anything with any level of balance. So that's one. But I think to be great at something, there's always going to be a bit of an imbalance. If I wanted my business to expand and take over the world, I'd have to be really imbalanced and biased towards that. And if I want to be the greatest athlete in my age group, there's an imbalance in that direction. In order to stay at this level, You know, I do 1 or 2 sessions a day. I love training. If I could train full time and just do that and get paid to do that, I would do that in a second. But I do have to work and find time to do that. So I have a certain amount of time I devote to work every day, a certain amount of time I devote to training, which is a significant chunk every day. When I'm hanging out with my family, I'm trying to be as undistracted as I can be, because that needs to be really concentrated time. For me, it's like juggling maybe like 5 or 6 balls at one time and doing my best not to drop any of them, but juggling them. And some of them have more weight than others, but just trying to stay afloat is an interesting and very challenging balance. So I do prioritize trying to get a decent amount of sleep. As an athlete, trying to make sure I get enough sleep. I am pretty solid on my nutrition and uncompromising on my nutrition. If you're not maintaining or getting better, you're going backwards fast. All right, Gene, we're doing a tour. All right, we've got the bedroom in here. The glorious master bathroom. Got this idea, like, what would it be like if we just traveled a bit? What if we, bought a van and traveled? Kitchen, standard kitchen, if you can believe it. Full microwave, full stove, oven, full refrigerator as well. It was just this idea, like, what if we did this? And that transformed into, this is the best time in the market to sell our house. Everything just sort of aligned so that we could do this. And we gave it a shot, and it's been pretty great. As we move back, we move into our dining room. This is officially the dining room. It came with 4 chairs, which don't make sense. Everything in an RV is about storage. So that is a storage bench. This is a weightlifting bench, which also serves as a bench for the table. This is where I spend most of my time. This is where I live. This is my office. This table goes up, goes down, stores everything I need for work. And then behind me is storage area for bike erg, ski erg, rower. You normally store barbells down on the floor back here. And when we travel, when we move, every piece of equipment and gear finds its way in here, including there's an ice barrel out back, so that's got to find its way in here as well. All right, I'm standing on 2 stall mats. One of the advantages of having 2 stall mats and one of them that splits, I can keep it light or I can use a heavy stall mat whenever I need it. All my bumper plates. We've got barbells up off the ground, sitting on 50-pound dumbbells. I have a 70-pound dumbbell inside as well. And bikes that were ridden for the triathlon. Some of the challenges are not being able to have every piece of equipment that I need with me at all times for my training. But that also forces me or pushes me, I get to get really creative with what I'm doing right here. This is where I keep random CrossFit gear that I might need. Rings, weight vest, rope, clips. These are my handstand walking gloves. So that creates enough padding for handstand walks. So if I need to do burpee box get-overs or burpee box jump-overs, I stack up my plates so I've got something to jump over. Make a mental note. 6 45-pound plates is about 24 inches. You just use what you have for fitness and create the closest stimulus to the workout that you can, and I think it creates a bit of an advantage. This here is a walking lunge accessory for when you do walking lunges in gravel. You don't want to break your kneecap off. It also creates a fun environment. There's nothing more beautiful than just looking around here, and trying to find our way to different interesting spots in the country is also just part of this. It keeps life interesting, keeps my brain incredibly stimulated. Up here, not full right now, we have an ice barrel for ice baths when necessary.
How long did it take you to figure out the optimal gym setup for this?
It took me a couple weeks to figure out exactly what I wanted for travel, what I wanted to take in this. You have to also be careful to not overfill or go over on the weight in an RV. So there's a limited amount of weight that this can carry. And I have just exactly the amount of weight that I can carry in this thing. I can't afford to carry an extra 70-pound dumbbell, so I have one. I can't carry two. So it takes a little bit of math, make sure we're good to go. And then every time I repack this thing, it's like a jigsaw puzzle that I'm putting together for the first time. I just change and tweak a little bit every time to make it all fit so we can travel safe. Being in Cookeville is not quite as exciting as being at the CrossFit Games. It's not far. So when the 2014 CrossFit Games were happening, that was my first year in CrossFit. I didn't watch any of the weekend. All I saw was the final event when Rich Froning was going for his final title.
2011, fittest man on earth. 2012, fittest man on earth.
It was all on the line, and like he had to win the last two events to do this. He still could have got beat. And I'm watching it on my iPhone on ESPN. And I watched Rich Froning like finish.
2014, Rich Froning is the fittest man in history.
You know, I look up to that guy. You know, huge. Like he is the best of all time. And to be able to now, fast forward 6-7 years later, be at his gym, and I walk into his gym and he knows me. Like he recognizes me. He walks up to me and says, "Hey Jason, I'm super glad you're here." And now that I have had a chance to train with other athletes, everywhere I turn at Mayhem, it's that guy's a games athlete. Oh, that guy's been to the games. Oh, she's been to the games 3 times, no big deal. This is just normal here. This isn't like a normal place. So for me to be able to be among this kind of environment, it's heaven.